Well. I am so excited. Oh my God. I I feel as light as a feather. I did not think that this was one of the rewards that I was going to get, like feeling light and sleeping early enough, like having my almost 8 hours of sleep. Because I'd been struggling before. I'd been struggling before I started my unmasking series or season, and I am so grateful to God, to God. I sought God before I started doing my videos. I did seek counsel from my mentors, and I mean, above all, I sought God's permission, and I felt peace. I really felt peace, and I felt the release to share my story. And well, I didn't need permission from anybody, because I don't think I need permission to share my experiences, but I still did. I mean, I still did talk to the people that I think have authority in my life, or I think have a sober mind, And I know I've closed out so many people from my life, and maybe not I have closed out, but I've been in a season of like I would say separation, which is which is a process when it comes to God working with you and with transitions in your life. Separation is a process, and sometimes you've got to be separated so that you silence so many voices. And sometimes I wonder, like, what would I be doing if I did not have if I was not in the season that have been in right now? I know I would be hearing so many voices, and I'm sure so many people would have stopped me from my process, because I would say this has been my process. And I'd say before I ever recorded, or before I ever told my any of my experiences to a third person, I feel like I followed the Bible way. I talked to the person. I spoke to a third person. The way the Bible says, when you have an issue with someone, go to them. If they don't hear, go to someone else. I think I had actually like overdone that, and I felt the release to share my experiences, and in the way that I did, and I am so happy. I am so happy that I was bold enough to do that, or that have been bold enough to do that. The truth is, I have not given. The truth is, I have not given 20% of my experiences. I think I talked about the things that were like lingering more, and I talked about things that had become a pattern in my life, and a pattern that I really wanted to break. And I needed to do that because I knew more was coming, and I don't know what I would have done. So I feel like it's a full circle. I feel like I was supposed to come to this point and release everything, download everything, because I sleep well. I have no ruminating thoughts, because I used, the way that a cow eats food, and then when the cow is hungry, or I don't know what happens, the cow brings back that food and keeps chewing. So this is how my life was. Like I was always chewing card, ruminating. I was always like chewing on that stuff that I'd experienced, and not because I am unforgiving. Abusive people will tell you you're an unforgiving. That is a line that abusive people use. Oh, you don't forgive. You hold on to details. You hold on to details. I'm not saying that I don't. Partly, it could be partly true, but I don't think, and I think the people that are in my life and the people that know me know that I mean, there are very many things I have not shared. Like, I haven't talked about mistakes. I don't think I have talked about mistakes. I've been talking about patterns, and I lived in a pattern that I kept on. Like, anytime the pattern would be repeated, it became like, like the chewing of the card. And I went back to like retrieving everything else that had happened. I don't know. I mean, it's like someone was creating a pattern. The way you have to pull to pull from another pattern to complete it. That is how it's been for me in my life. And I felt so good that I was able to let out like whatever I needed to let out. Again, a very, very small part of it. And another thing is I learned how to keep details, because if you do not tell stuff in details, you're going to be something is going to be pulled out and you'll be told, no, it wasn't 7, it was 701. See, you're lying, it was 701. So I learned how to keep details. And right now I deal with domestic violence, and I deal with a lot of clients who come and tell me a lot of stuff, and they tell me in details, and I'm like, wow. So this is actually the result of this illness, Someone does not want to miss, because in my experience, when you don't say like a line, or then this person said this, they'll say, see, they're lying, they did not say this person said this. So you get accustomed, and you get so conditioned to remembering a lot of details, because because you need those details to save yourself. You need those details because you're always on the defense. You're always like trying to say, okay, this is what happened. This is what happened. And I also mentioned like for some people, they get used to recording. If you've never gotten to that part, then I would say you're lucky, honestly. So I know so many people have questions that I cannot ask me, and I was thinking I want to answer a few questions that I think someone would want to ask me, but then they don't have the opportunity to, or honestly, I haven't given anybody the chance to ask me anything. And apart from one person who asked me a question, someone that I really love and respect, and I thought that question was like really profound. I haven't been asked anything by anybody else. And someone asked me like, why didn't you just walk away and move on? And probably someone else would be asking the same, like, are you trying to malign someone's name? Or are you trying to, by giving your story, were you trying to what was it that you wanted to gain? First of all, these are my experiences. I'm not talking about anybody. It's just the way it's exactly the same way I would come and say, okay, my parents died and this is what I went through. This is my story. These are my experiences. And I know someone would say there are two sides of the story, of every story, which is 100% correct. And I would also want to hear the other side of the story. So I've given my story the way I've given it. So, and I would really, really love to hear the other side of the story if there's another side of the story. So, giving my story has given me a lot of liberty, a lot of freedom. It's given me space to handle much more, because this is never going to be over. As long as I have children, it's going to be something different all the time. But the fact that I've shared this part of my story, I said this is specifically for me. This is the first time. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I'm saying this is the first time that I've been very, very selfish. I'm not going to think about anybody else. I'm not going to think about anybody else's feelings. I think I've lived thinking about other people's feelings. So this is the first time I'm considering myself. This is the first time I'm putting myself first. And I'm like, you know what? I am done. So yeah, so I need to share my experiences because I need to get this out of my system. And like how light I feel is unbelievable. Like I cannot believe it. I cannot believe that I had lived with a lot of stuff. And as I said earlier, I stayed with stuff for so long that by the time I started talking, it's hard to believe me, and I stopped sharing for people to believe me. I stopped yearning for people to believe me. I had to go through a lot of processing and a lot of a long process to just know my story for myself. And I decided to share for someone else who's going through the same. And oh my days, this is not for everybody. This is for someone who understands what I'm talking about, because whatever I'm talking about is not something that is understood. And if God has allowed you to go through what I'm talking about, then you're special, honestly, because this is not for majority. This is actually for the minority, So I'd say honestly, you're a chosen person, Yeah. So I think I think of a few questions that people would want to ask me, and I think the first one is I've said one person that I really really love, and one person that I allowed to speak into my life, asked me a question like, why. I was just wondering, why didn't you just walk away and move on? See, it wasn't about walking away and moving on. It was about what had happened to me. It was about the trauma that I had experienced, and the trauma that I could not walk away from. I could walk away from the relationship, and I did walk away from the relationship. But walking away from trauma, or from the trauma that I had experienced, has a process, and this is a process for me. Everybody has a different process. Everybody processes things differently. But for me, there's a way I process stuff. And before I got to processing this way, again, I don't know what I've mentioned here, I did talk to one person, two people, 3, 13, 10, 13, 15. I went back 13, 10. 21, 100. I mean, I went to so many people before I came to this part. And before I came to like sharing the way I'm sharing, I had tried to process this thing in so many ways. But I'm telling you, this is now where I've found my healing. If I was still having all these things, ruminating thoughts and chewing on all these things that have happened, I don't know what would have happened if I was still at this point and whatever happened last week happened. Because I think last week, today is September 30th, 2023. Whatever I went through last week coming to, no, that's from Sunday last week to Sunday this week. I don't know if I would have survived if I still had all the other things in me, if I had not like downloaded them, because what I did is like I just downloaded here, and done and cleaned. Not that this is 100. This is not 100% what I've gone through. This is just part of what I've gone through, but this is what was making the pattern that I needed to cut and I needed to break. Last week I went through a very, 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 very hard period. I I I had 3 somatic attacks in one day, like on Friday morning, like in the afternoon and in the evening. And God, in His ways, had created a way for me to go and process my pain. I didn't know what was gonna happen. Like on Friday, I didn't know what was going to happen, but I happened to register for a program. I mean, I had a guest that I was hosting, and she was going for this program, the Crucible Project. The kind of thing I was going through is not like a one day thing. It's like you have a wound, and this wound is like, it is exposed every day, and it keeps being infected and infected and infected. I mean, that's how I would describe like what I was going through. So it's like I've needed continuous healing. I mean, I honestly didn't deserve to go through whatever I was going through. And I don't want to say what it was, but yes, I mean, I think that was the last nail on the coffin of this 3-year separation. I'm not going to go into details of anything, but I'm just saying that like what I went through that week, God knew in advance and prepared a project for me or a program for me where I would go and process this pain for 3 days, all my days. Anybody that has done the Crucible Project, how that goes. And as I was going for the program, I was being prepared because I couldn't even move. I had a lot of my body. I listened to someone tell me stuff and I just took it in, but my body kept the scores. And as soon as this person left, I just collapsed the first time at 9:30. I collapsed the second time at 1, and I collapsed the third time at 12. At 6 p.m. And I was actually going to check myself into a hospital. Then I knew what it was. I knew what it was. So I decided, like this thing is once, it's happening once, and I need it. So I knew what to do, to gather myself and to like just, pull myself by the bootstraps and do what I needed to do because I knew that is what I really needed. So I keep wondering like what that would have been if I had not like downloaded everything that I needed to download. Yeah. Answering that question, like why didn't I just walk away and move on? Because this is not something you wear and remove. This is something I had invested for 18 years. This is a relationship that I had given myself to for 18 years. I can walk away and I could walk away from the relationship, but it's not easy for me to walk away from the trauma. And I had to process my traumatic experiences. Like I consider them my trauma, and I had to process my pain in the best way I know how to. And if I went for an interview, I would talk about my story. So I don't see the difference between me talking about myself here or talking about myself in an interview because I am very candid. I'm an open book. Yeah. So what else do I think people ask? How are your children? Like do you shield your children from all this? I shield my children from all this the best way possible. The only unfortunate thing is that everybody here comes here on earth and they must go through their pain. I wish I could take some pain from my kids. My daughter had a fall some time back, and I wish I could take away the scars from her, but that's her cup, unfortunately. Some of us, our kids go through stuff when you're not there, but unfortunately, that's a cup that each child has to carry. We have carried our own pain. You have carried your own pain that your mom couldn't shield you from. We try and we do our best to shield our kids from pain, but sometimes pain just comes. And as a mother, as a therapist, as an empowered woman, my duty is to do everything I can to shield them and to protect them and to keep them safe and to provide the support they need to process what they need to process. But honestly, I'd say my kids are very, very, they're very well. They're very, very, very well. And my kids have been raised well by the dad and myself. I think if there's anything we can pride in is like we have raised our children well. And I think they had a good buffer, and they have a good buffer, both in Christ and both in discipline and both in, I wouldn't say that we've shielded them from emotional pain. There's pain that they are going to go through, but honestly, I would also say God has delivered them. And I think even for them being in a different place right now is like really, really helpful for them and also for me. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just answering myself questions that I'm imagining are asked. What else do I think? I also think one other question that is asked is, are you revenging? Are you trying to get back at someone? Why would I? Waited for 18 years. I've been separated for three years. No, I've been separated for 3 years now. 3 years before separation, we were not like, it's like I didn't have a marriage, like I was going through hell. I didn't do nothing about that, Even when I used to write, I never used to say anything, So I'm not getting back at anybody. If I took vengeance in my hands, then, then God would step back. I am just telling my story the way I would tell any other story. This is my story. These are my experiences. Yeah. What other question do I think people want to ask me? I do not know. If you have any question, I'm free for you to ask. And maybe how am I doing? Very well. Like now I am doing very, very, very well. It's been like a roller coaster. And again, I said, because these are not things that are going to end. I wish they did. I wish it was like easy as breaking up from, I'd say, a normal relationship. I'd say for me, mine is like really different because this is what I think, or there's what I hope for when a relationship, like how I hope things would be done when a relationship comes to an end. But I think just as abnormal as I feel some things were in my marriage, I also feel like some things are like right now abnormal. maybe not the way I would want them. I would want to co-parent, not to counter-parent. I would want to, I mean, there are very many things that I would want, but I know I'll never get them. So those are things that I'm going to be making peace with, like, and it's progressive, Yeah. Am I divorced or am I separated? Separated for 3 years in Kenya. Separation after 2 years qualifies for, I think, a divorce, uncontested. And yeah, I won't say like what's happening now, but I'm just looking forward to my next, which is like really soon, like which is like really soon. Yeah. One question that I know so many people have and so many people ask is, okay, what was it? I mean, if you're saying it was this bad, then why did you stay for this long? Why did you stay for 18 years? I stayed for 18 years in my marriage because it was not 100% bad. I stayed for 18 years in my marriage because I knew that what you were going through was part of a cycle in families, and I was like really, really determined to fight this cycle and to fight this pattern and to fight this, I don't know whether you believe in, I don't want to say generational curses, but I call them open doors. I mean, I knew that I was dealing with an open door and I really, really wanted to close it. I didn't want to pass this, or I didn't want this door to be open for my children. And so I was fighting because I knew this was not about me and my partner. I knew it was beyond us, And I also stayed because I mean, my partner, he's a good person, but I probably have said that enough times. I probably had more issues than he could deal with. I probably had expectations that couldn't be met. Yeah. So it was probably my bad, and I want to say that I stayed for 18 years because of all the good that was in my relationship. I stayed for 18 years because of all the good that was in my partner. I stayed for 18 years because of having a very, very supportive man. And I stayed for 18 years because of having an amazing dad to my children. And why it has been very, very hard is because it was not all bad. If it was all bad, it would be very easy for me to just like move on and say, oh my God, it was like really bad, and I wouldn't be hurting the way I hurt, and I wouldn't have been looking for help the way I did, because if it is all bad, then I mean it's easy to walk away. So my partner had an amazing side of him, and I've said that before. I've said, like, honestly, when it comes to dads, I give him that. Like, honestly, I would give him an award for being a hands-on dad, like 100% hands-on with his kids. Like, my partner was 100% present, 100% involved, 100% like providing, and yeah, yeah. And again, I was in love. I mean, I truly, truly loved my partner, and I didn't stop loving. I didn't leave because I stopped loving. I left because I wanted to stop hurting and I wanted to start healing. And in the process of my healing, and in the process of like going through letting go of so many things, I realized, like, I had more love for myself than I had for someone else or for any other person. And that's how I had lived the previous years. I had loved someone else more than I did, that I didn't care about my heartache, I didn't care about my feelings. And so I just started loving myself more. And yeah, that's why I was able to leave. So I didn't leave because I stopped loving, but I left because I wanted to stop hurting. And I am grateful for this season, and I'm grateful for this period in my life. I really want to tell you more about where I am at right now. How do you love yourself enough to, like, know that I really, really need to walk and not look back, even when you really want to look back? Because I wouldn't say that I didn't want to look back. that's a whole new story. Because I think just recently I wanted to look back, and but I would say God did not allow it. Whatever you make out of that. And I can say that for a fact, because now I understand why God did not allow it, So I am very candid to share my experiences with you. And I've kept saying you don't have to go through an experience that someone else has experienced. I really, really thank God for where I am today. I'm in America with my kids, and doing very well in my career, in my profession. And I'm also doing well, like I'm doing so many of the things that I was doing in Kenya. I do trainings, I do therapy, I do personal development, emotional wellness, like everything that I was doing in Kenya, I'm doing here. And I am really looking forward to doing much more that God has called me for. I am bigger than a marriage. The ministry that God has put in me is bigger than a marriage. I am not defined by marriage. And yeah, close. This is unmasking. Closed. Done. I really want to tell you, how did I come to America? What did I do after I moved out of like my matrimonial home? What happened? How did I get here? I mean, I really, really want to do that. But hey, not now. I really wanted to be done with this season or with that part of my life so that I can be able to be free like I'm feeling right now. I cannot tell you how free I'm feeling. Oh my God. This is the greatest reward, like what I'm feeling right now. The nights, my sleep, my freedom, my peace, the peace I have. This is my reward from my videos these past weeks. God bless you. Take care. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for staying with me. God bless you so much. If you're going through pain, may God heal you. May God heal you of your pain. I love you.